Today with us we have Danica Milisavljevic. Danica is one very charming and smart lady, first of all, coming from Serbia. She is also head of digital at CPT, L'Oreal, Adria, and Balkan. So we are super happy to have you today with us because until today in the series we didn't have anybody coming from a beauty industry. So both me and Carolina are super excited to learn about latest and greatest regarding digital marketing and all of that. So thank you for joining us, Danica.
Thank you so much, Nina, for this amazing introduction, and thank you, ladies, for inviting me to be a part of such a great product. I've reviewed all the previous podcasts, and I was really inspired. Really great work, and I'm due to that I'm super proud to be able to share some of my working experience with you today, and also to discuss on some interesting topics, let's say, and to share my not just my experience, but also my thoughts on some subjects with you today. So Nina, as you said, I work as a digital marketer in L'Oreal for 3 years. Actually, I was born in a small town in South Serbia in Kosovo, where I finished elementary and high school, and then I moved to Belgrade to continue my education. And here I am 15 years later in Belgrade as well, working in L'Oreal, and with almost 9 years of experience, active experience in marketing and digital within digital banking and beauty industry as a background. So in a nutshell, that would be it about me.
That's great. I already foresee a great conversation. So let's dig into it. So now when you mention also digital marketing, that is a buzzword today, and many people don't really understand what it is all about. And maybe for you working in exactly that area at L'Oreal, and also at the same time for us to learn more about yourself, can you tell us more about how your day-to-day job looks like, and how do you leverage, or can you tell us more, what is digital marketing for you?
Thank you. A lot of questions within this one, but
Yes.
I'll try to. Yes, I'll try to explain everything. By the way, I couldn't agree more that with you really that digital marketing is a buzzword today, because I often say it's like the big data was before. Like everyone is talking about it, but not sure that everyone really understands the meaning. And for digital marketing, particularly more important, what is the scope? So when I compare, for example, my previous working experience with L'Oreal, there everything was about digital, because the core business was digital, more digital tech, now let's say, but in L'Oreal it's pure digital marketing. And I've noticed that many people, I believe you will agree, associate digital marketing only to social media, but really it is much more than that. It is websites, e-commerce, online and mobile applications, customer relations management, virtual try-ons, like digital tech, influencer marketing as well. It is super popular lately. So what I do most of the time lately, actually, I spend time in upskilling and training people, like pure marketing people in digital. It is well known that L'Oreal is a marketing company in the first place, but for me it's also mandatory today that marketing equals digital marketing. And the fact that speaks in favor of that is that more and more marketing budget is spent for online channels, for online advertising and so on. And in L'Oreal, this is also the case. And why am I emphasizing this? Why is this so important? Because what I'm trying always to explain, I don't know, in your everyday life, whether you are looking for, place for dinner, maybe before pandemic, or join a class on a personal hobby, or simply booking tickets for an event, you always use online space to execute these tasks. So yes, so now if people are relying so much on online space, then it's equally important for businesses also to move online. Then they need to have how to say, online identity. So when their target consumers are surfing, they can discover the brands they love. This is basically in the essence, and this is how important digital marketing has become, because the only way brands are able to capture the attention of their prospects, it's by creating a strong digital presence so that their target consumers are basically well informed. So I think this is what I do, trying to make all this happen, let's say. So as a business, you can inform your customers on any new updates, whether there is, I don't know, sales in store, you are giving a free demo of your product, if you are organizing an event, launching a campaign, and so on. And the fact is that reaching to your target audience through digital is much easier than offline. So basically, this is the key. And regarding your question on the performance and metrics and so on in this changing marketing landscape such as today, if I may say, this is the era of digital disruption. Definitely, what is more important than ever is to plan your short-term and long-term KPIs, especially in digital. And the most important part is setting a digital marketing KPIs. When setting them is actually to choose what to measure. Of course, when we are conducting some digital campaigns and so on, we set channel-specific KPIs for social, for YouTube, Google, e-commerce, and so on. But what I want to say that in today's competitive landscape, what is more important than ever are conversions. So I want to emphasize the importance of conversions in terms of digital marketing, because it's also important to know that channels, online channels, they don't all have the primary KPI, because not all channels are likely to have a direct impact on revenue or conversions. That is always challenging of how digital marketing is impacting the revenue or profit, because it might be sometimes unrealistic to expect that, for example, social media to have direct impact on revenue, depending on your offering. Therefore, the primary KPI, for example, for social media might be reach or engagement of clicks and so on. So it's super important, speaking about digital, to understand the end goal and objectives. And you also asked me about planning ahead, right? Well, yes. I think the key here is to anticipate and adapt very fast. And it's not that easy as it sounds, especially in large companies, trust me. But again, what is advantage here in digital? It's much faster to make it happen online rather than offline. So a lot of things within this question, but I believe that we will go more deep dive during the interview. I hope I closed this topic to you a bit.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And also talking about marketing, a lot of campaigns tend to leave the headquarters. So L'Oreal headquarters in Paris, which is a very different market from the Serbian market. So how do you adapt this headquarter campaign to local regions, take into account they are very different in personality, culture, but also what they like and dislike? How do you adapt the headquarters marketing campaign and strategy to your local requirements and needs?
This is so true, Carolina. It's an everyday challenge for me, let's say. But if you ask me what is the most important, is that you need to know the local markets and needs very well in order to adapt this global headquarters, let's say, strategy to local ones. And it's not just about the marketing or digital marketing, it's in terms of the business overall. And not trust me, sometimes it's easier part to adapt, but maybe harder to defend your local strategies afterwards to the headquarters. But I don't know, sometimes the timing is not right. You know, what is super popular and hot in Western Europe or in China, for example, it's not even existing here in our countries. For example, like TikTok was super popular in China, in, I think 2 years ago, and here in our region, in only a couple of countries, it is booming this year, or I don't know, I think end of last year, something like that. So we are trying day in, day out, really to convince and to explain that the local markets, especially here in the Adria Balkan, it's not the same in like in Paris, like in USA, Western Europe, and so on. So it's very challenging. It is a good question, and also what I find super useful as well. Regarding this topic is our consumer studies that provide the most valuable insights for us. Let's say so. The key to successful local marketing strategy, if I may say, is accurately defining your buyer personas. You know, the whole process around this is basically helping us better understanding our target audience's demographic, psychographic information, including also the geographic locations, because this location data is actually how you can pinpoint where you can funnel your local marketing strategy and energy, if I may say. And then further on, since this is Adria Balkan region that contains 9 countries, but believe or not, it's even different situations within the region. Among the countries. So it's something, it's completely different when you're setting a digital marketing campaign in Serbia than in Bulgaria and Croatia and so on. So it's very challenging, but I will repeat once again, Carolina, it's the most important it is to you know well the local markets and the needs in order to execute successful campaign. That's it.
That's really good, because without the data you wouldn't really have much.
Exactly.
And that's the key also, to show to other regions that this is specific for your region, and some proof that it is really very much different.
Exactly, Nina.
And in that sense, like when you're really focusing on customers, and I guess maybe a customer experience will differ compared to Bulgaria and Adria and Paris. So how does that customer experience actually impact designing some digital campaigns, or the other way around? Maybe campaigns are impacting users to have some new experience. So.
Interesting question, because I can answer this based on my previous experience, maybe more than in L'Oréal. In my experience, quite a lot influence. Let's say, like, generally speaking, in my opinion, customer experience needs to be the priority to businesses today and also in the future, of course, because the companies that focus on customer experience will potentially reduce the churn and decrease revenue and lead to higher profit. And I know the reason is so quite simply, if obvious, because if you want your customers to stay loyal, then you have to invest in their experience. It's quite that simple. Let's say, like the most thing in today's marketplace, also customer experience has changed. I believe that you will agree. It's more than person-to-person services, and thanks to technology, in the first place, now companies can connect with their consumers in completely new and exciting ways. And also connected to L'Oréal, they invested a lot in technology latest, and we can already see, let's say, the great impact, because all the platforms and the technologies that were in the core of the applications, online platform and so on, made a significant benefit. So in my opinion, if I know your organization is going to really understand customer needs and wants, they need to be able to connect and identify with the situations that your consumer face. Like for example, now in COVID, I regarding this question, I heard this phrase. I believe that you also heard it. It's not what you say, it is how you say it. So there is also an emotional component there. And trust me, in my experience, the best customer experience is achieved when a member of your team creates an emotional connection with the customer. And I must say, I'm happy that was a part of the team that created first fully digital bank in the region, where customer experience was in the core of the business. And based on that experience, nowadays I'm convinced that customers are willing not just to choose, but even to pay more for a better experience. I'm convinced of that. So to summarize, I think, Nina, it's mandatory when designing some service, preparing some products, making some campaign, digital campaign particularly, to put yourselves in shoes of consumers. You will see things completely different, because sometimes we are stuck, with the daily tasks, projects, and so on, and we cannot see the bigger picture. So I think this is the case.
And talking about this brand and consumer relationship, are you able to highlight one of those campaigns that you were able to run that was super impactful for you as a performer, as the executor, but also for the customer, and you got really good feedback from both sides?
Well, this is the easy question, by the way, Carolina, because I think I cannot compare any project or task or campaign here in L'Oréal as well with my first campaign that is connected with the launch of the bank that I mentioned in the previous answer, because it was something so impactful, not to me personally and the team, but also to the entire market, because with that campaign, we completely changed the way that banking market is communicated to the consumers and businesses. For me personally, I was super excited because it was the first time that I'm conducting, 360 campaign, online channels, offline channels, making TV commercials, billboard all around the cities and so on. And we started with it was super interesting for the consumers and their perception. We started with the teasers, since we haven't launched the bank yet, to provoke them in a way that we were asking them, okay, regarding bills, if you don't like them, why you are keeping them, or if you are not in the race, why you are standing behind the line, something like that. And really it made a huge buzz on social media, discussions on Twitters and so on. And for us as a team, it was super challenging, because we needed to made this teaser part of the campaign before the launch. So it was exciting, but also risky. Okay, we launched the campaign, but we didn't launch the bank. Is it going to function, and so on? So I think really this is a campaign that I am proud, really, in myself personally, and we as a team in Telenor Bank, because this was the moment when really banking industry was not the same anymore, in terms of perceptions among consumers, in terms of communication, and so on. So I think this would be the one for sure.
So it's like your baby. Like, do you really
exactly
cherish the project? Is your
exactly
growing?
I think this is really one in a lifetime experience. Really
great job for you and the team. And I'm
thank you.
So happy that you actually explained this experience, because my next question was going into another area of social media. And I remember that you said it's not just about social media and all the social apps. So just thank you for bringing that story up. But anyway, this is inevitable topic, right? So what we are curious about in social media area is specifically also regarding the influencers that played a massive role in the past in many companies, especially in industries such as the beauty industry. And also it's changing so much if we compare what apps millennials use compared to Generation Z, and we have all these new apps, like you mentioned, TikTok, we have Clubhouse. So can you tell us more how you are managed to evolve, to keep up with all of this and evolve together with all these social media?
Struggling all the time, let's say, because it's true, Nina, everything that you mentioned. And the fact is that use of social media, it's not like it's booming now, but it seems to grow in the future, and I think shows no sign of slowing down, definitely. And primarily Instagram is experiencing massive growth each year, and just like you mentioned, in terms of brand influencer collaborations, I believe this platform, and maybe TikTok soon will continue to be the leading ones. And basically, what is important here to say that rise of social media is actually mostly accountable for the creation of influencer marketing. You understand, and far beyond being an emerging trend, let's say, influencer marketing particularly is now fundamental part of the beauty industry. Trust me, because businesses in this sector were among the first to realize the power of online influencers and make this form of marketing central to their customer engagement and brand building efforts, let's say. I cannot forget when I joined L'Oréal, I was attending some training, and they presented there that one luxury brand outside of L'Oréal spent more than, I think, 85% of their marketing budget on influencers. And in the first, I was shocked, but soon after that, I realized when I joined L'Oréal, actually, that this is normal and this is must, because definitely people trust consumers and user-generated content more than any advertisement. Trust me, they connect with influencers, I believe, because they want honest and transparent insights into products. So working with influencers can unlock, if I may say, many powerful advantages, such as the level of authenticity your products can achieve when they are supported by someone, I don't know, who has the respect and admiration, really, of an army of online followers. So how I see it, if you are a beauty brand, one of the most valuable lessons to take from this explosion of influencer marketing is really this power of authenticity. And in this regard, particularly in L'Oréal, influencer marketing campaigns, they are mostly focused on in meeting the need for authenticity, and then transparency goes a long way. So I hope I explained it in an understandable way. And also, Nina, regarding your question on the Clubhouse and TikTok, I must say that we are not there yet for the Clubhouse. I mean, here, L'Oréal in Adria Balkan, but we are now leveraging the TikTok here locally, again, via influencers, but because we are forbidden to have our own local channels. And also we are waiting, which is not the case in Western Europe, I believe, of even possibility of buying advertisements there, since it's still not allowed in our country. So you understand, again, related to the previous question, that sometimes it comes much later in our countries, but we are trying to do our best.
And outside of social media, what other technology solutions you see playing a huge role for L'Oréal and even the entire industry?
Thank you for this question, because I love this part, particularly in digital marketing. And for L'Oréal and in the beauty industry in general, I think that technology serves as a means to an end, whether that's to connect with consumers in new ways, or maybe to provide more personalized products, let's say. And the chase of these goals is driving the beauty tech industry forward at the rate that I believe soon can make something like digital first makeup departments, augmented reality beauty apps, smart skincare devices, and something like that. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the fact that 2018, I think L'Oréal acquired Modiface. and really became a beauty tech leader. By the way, the Modiface, it's a Canadian company which allows consumers to virtually test beauty products. So really amazing technology. In order to explain, since I've spent, by the way, more than 2 years in our professional division within L'Oréal, I can speak mostly from that experience and about the hair color virtual try-on, and I'm a huge fan of the one of our let's say most popular application. It's Style My Hair Pro. It's completely inspired by the Pinterest. You definitely should try it. Why I was amazed with this application, because when I discovered what was the background, I was amazed. They developed this app in order to help women, since they are very often afraid to make color changes of their hair, and then this augmented reality is basically developed to encourage them to do that. So if you try this application, you will see there is plenty of examples of different hair colors, hairstyles. Since it is inspired by Pinterest, plenty of inspirational photos that can help you to choose your ones, and so on. But it's not only about that. Also, when I was discovering, okay, but what are the results behind? Actually, I found that L'Oréal made some research, I think 2 years ago, and it turned out actually that particularly this technology, Modiface, is really helpful in attracting visitors to websites, and I think more than 50% of them, they use technology on the brand pages. You know, it's half of the website visitors. They spend 2 times more time in app, and at the end, they saw there is a twice big uplift in online orders only when users try on products. So for me, this was, I don't know, amazing fact. And I was thinking about that, and I believe this is because consumers, they find both functional and emotional benefits in this kind of personalization, if you understand. So yes, definitely technology plays a significant role in L'Oréal already. I think will be much more impactful in the future for sure.
That's awesome example. Honestly, I would already see myself trying out some blonde already.
Great.
Because I was never there.
I'm a good ambassador then.
Yeah, totally seeing myself. So thanks for that example. That's a perfect segue to my next question, because when we are preparing for this interview, you said something that I remembered very well, and that was today not being digital is not an option, which is a very bold, interesting, and I would say true statement. And now you mentioned also part of your experience working in the professional department, and I know we briefly talked about hairdressers. So I'm very interested to learn more, like when you try to digitalize some like professional like hairdressers that are really far from that. What are the challenges here, and what is actually the value for me being hairdresser to be digital? So.
Clear. I can remember. Yeah, I cannot believe that you remember this quote, because this is my favorite for sure. I'm repeating this all the time. And thank you for this question. It's super important for me for many reasons. This collaboration with influencers, with professional influencers, let's say, hairdressers, because I believe this part, like digital upskilling of hairdressers, was the most challenging task when I was the part of the professional division, because not just the most challenging, but for me, I must say also the most fruitful, because when you start something from the scratch and you see visible and valuable outputs of your work, I think for each individual, it's the greatest accomplishment, satisfaction and recognition, let's say. So this was definitely a challenging journey with I learned a lot as well, how to adapt your business goals, your digital strategy to partners who are not digital native in the essence. They are not thinking in the way that you are thinking. They are artists, you know, and I needed to convince them that really not being digital is not an option. And if they do not appear in search on Instagram, they don't exist. You know, when we are looking for some inspiration for here, where we go, we scroll the Instagram photos. So I think it's obvious, right? This is the fact. And also then big step was to understand them, their behavior, their mindset, and then being digital friendly to the consumers. Because, you know, in professional division, hairdressers are basically mediators between the business and the end consumers. And now I see many of them having their own e-commerce sites, content websites, amazing content on social media that is reposted by Kerastase or L'Oréal Professionnel official channels. And I'm super proud, and it's something really that gives me, I don't know, inspiration and strength to continue my journey. I didn't think that I will be in this position, like to think like this in this moment, but this is the fact. And also very important to mention what I've learned from them. What we often forget is how important it is to enjoy doing your job and really to celebrate your success. I think they are the best example.
Wow, that's really interesting to
I believe it is.
Because we can't like get a online haircut. You have to go to the place. That's why I understand the challenge to convince hairdressers how important it is to start this journey, because that's how consumers are moving forward, even though they can't do their services online.
Exactly.
And talking about changes, and we've lived and still living in a very changing world, especially because of COVID. So how do you see people thinking differently and adapting different technologies, taking into account the current state of the world? And who knows, in the direction we're going, there will be more COVIDs moving forward. So how do you see the businesses and the industry adapting to that?
Yes, definitely, Carolina. Even more, I mean, in years to come, we will look back at 2020 as the moment that changed everything. In business, in our lives, really in everything. In terms of business, let's say, in the first place, the consumer habits of buying as well as shopping have been disrupted, if I may say, during this pandemic. And I'm noticing every day, I see how we are learning some new habits, how we are learning to improvise, you know, and definitely maybe where was the biggest impact from my perspective is that COVID led to a surge in e-commerce in the first place, and definitely accelerate the digital transformation. I'm hearing this also from my colleagues from the other industry, and even more, I think that demand for online shopping appears to be sustainable for the long term. So just like you said, it's not even the instant moment, but for a long-term impact. And regarding e-commerce, what is important to mention here, e-commerce has responded rapidly to the challenge, but of creating positive experience. You know, in response to pandemic, it grew like never before, and the same case is also in L'Oréal. This channel literally exploded in just few months and forced us to shift our mindset, our priorities, everything towards e-commerce. Even more, we leveraged our partnership, because we are mostly making business with the e-retailers. Then we have been creating completely different content than before for the e-commerce websites, for the digital marketing campaigns, but in completely different shape. We changed our digital marketing objectives towards conversion, you know, and a lot of examples. And as end result, what is the most important, actually, that weight of e-commerce in total business was impressive, really. And now when we assess this new post-pandemic world, let's say, I think one thing is certain, that consumer behaviors in general will remain dynamic and demanding, and new needs will emerge, and existing patterns will accelerate. And what is mandatory for every business, I think that we must be ready to embrace this acceleration. If I may explain everything what is happening and what happened in the last year, I think it would be a conclusion for my point of view, Carolina.
I would agree, especially also we also lived through that in the tech industry. I think it's true for every industry, but especially for like industry like yours, beauty, it's not a common thing. So I would say well done, especially you having a lot of work now in digital area.
Never before, like never before, trust me.
But that's really, I mean, it's a positive change, of course.
Exactly, and it forced us, all of us, really to start thinking digitally first.
Yes, digital first. And yeah. Speaking of changes and these like massive dynamic changes that we are seeing before, and it will like continue to evolve, like you explained, there's also one important topic, which is sustainability, and it's becoming more and more important for all the companies, regardless of the industry. And I'm very curious how brands like L'Oreal or like in the beauty industry can tackle sustainability as one of the very important goals in this whole story.
Great question, Nina. Thank you so much, by the way, for this question, because I'm personally very interested and involved in this topic, and proud to say that I'm a part of a worldwide project in L'Oreal. I don't know if you're familiar with that, which is known like L'Oreal for the Future. Just like you said, sustainability, it is becoming more important topic than ever, because the world circumstances are changing so fast, and there is no doubt that it's becoming very challenging transforming ourselves toward these changes, if you agree. And in L'Oreal worldwide, we made a significant progress in our, if I may say, in our sustainability journey. In the first place, we have reduced the CO2 emissions, we have lowered the water consumption in plants, we improved the social or environmental profile, and very important to mention that we help more than 90,000 people from unprivileged communities gain access to employment. So really we have done so many things, but I truly believe that we can and we need to have to do even more, we as a company and each of us as individual, because our new commitments, they are part of everyday lives, let's say, and we are all aware that just like you said, Earth's resources are limited, and connected to that, our goal as L'Oreal is to ensure that our activities will be respectful on the planet's boundaries, if I may say. And with this project that I mentioned, L'Oreal for the Future, our goal is exactly to stay within the limits, like the safe space inside the planetary boundaries. So the main targets basically are to fight climate change, to manage water sustainably, to respect biodiversity, and to preserve natural resources. So I must say I'm really extremely proud in our common achievements for this, let's say, more sustainable future. So thank you, Nina, for mentioning this important topic, and I think it's up to us also to raise awareness of this super important topic.
Thank you. This is I'm very passionate about sustainability as well.
Yeah, great.
I'm always curious to understand what other companies doing, especially because L'Oreal is a consumer type of business. So, and we see that a lot of the consequences that we making to planet Earth have to do with our crazy consumption rates that are increasing. So it's very interesting to see what L'Oreal is doing to maybe still have people consuming, but to impact less the planet. So thank you so much for that perspective from you.
And thank you for summarizing everything. Thank you, Carolina.
we're close to the end. So before we jump to the goofy questions that we always have in the end, I would like to understand, do you have any advice for the teenage Danica that you would like to share? So any other teenagers out there can relate to your advice and maybe take on board.
Interesting question. Well, I try to remember myself when I was a teenager. Well, I would give her a lot of advice for sure. Joke aside. Well, now I think I would say to teenage Danica to relax, really, to have more self-esteem, and I would try to convince her that hard work will pay off. Why I'm saying this, let me just explain that when you are from move from a small town to a big city, you face with completely new perspective. You know, you think that you are way behind, that the other had better education, that they are smarter than you, and so on, and you are losing your self-esteem. But then after some time, you realize that even this is the case. Hard work and persistence always wins. So that would be my advice. And I was thinking when you were asking the questions, maybe it's not 100% related to this question, but it's something that I'm giving advice myself every day, like, Danica, see the bigger picture. So, I mean, you will agree for sure. Sometimes we are loaded with the daily tasks and the KPIs and the targets and so on. And in that circumstances, we are not able to think in broader strokes, let's say, and some things and the purpose, it's only apparent from let's say, this bird's eye view. So see the big picture always.
Isabel, I do relate with you, coming from a small town and having to move to a big place, and I think it's human. You always tend to compare yourself with other people, but you can't go too deep in that comparison, because that's when you start flopping and start cutting your legs. So it's quite interesting to get your feedback. So girls out there who are listening,
yes,
see the bigger picture. Do not compare too much to other people. There will be challenges, but you will make it through. So that's really important. And you are as smart as everyone else. You just need to believe in yourself. So yes, thank you so much for that.
You transfer this message better than myself. Thank you, Carolina. Couldn't agree more. Really, really.
So to finalize, let's jump to our goofy question. So this is an this or that challenge.
Okay.
So do you prefer dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee. I hate tea. Okay.
I miss coffee. I've been whitening my teeth, so I haven't had coffee in a month, and I'm like, oh, I need coffee.
How are you surviving?
I don't know. I don't know. Video call or text?
The second one. Definitely.
Instagram or TikTok?
Oh, Instagram. I'm older. Older millennials, not Gen Z.
Swimming or sunbathing?
Ooh, swimming.
Do you like new clothes or a new phone?
Both. It's an option.
It's fine. It's fine. Do you prefer big parties or small gatherings?
I used to love big parties earlier, but now I'm more for small gatherings. I don't know if this up to my age or because of the COVID pandemic, but definitely small gatherings, but with music. Sure.
2 meters apart. 2 meters apart.
Exactly.
Comedy or drama?
Comedy.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
Yeah, I like that too. Sneakers or sandals? And this is the last one.
Tough question. Sneakers.
Perfect.
I was
Thank
more
you.
comfortable.
I do like sandals. I like my Havaianas. Flip-flops is the way to
Yes, great. I agree. I agree.
Thank you so much. Nina, do you have any other questions? Anything you want to share?
No, I just want to thank you because it was super inspiring for me and very interesting. And thank you so much for giving all the insights into your part of the world and some super nice views. So I'm super now inspired to continue for the day. So thanks a lot for that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Time flies really. I haven't noticed that we spend almost 1 hour. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed, and you helped me to remind myself. Okay, I'm doing a great job. By the way, thank you so much for this opportunity, ladies. Thank you once again.
Thank
Have
you.
a lovely day.
You too.
Bye. Enjoy your holidays.
Yes, thank you. Looking forward to meeting you in person someday. Why not?
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.